I think this week's message is so important that I've actually got notes that I'm going to be referring to here while I talk to you. Okay. See, here's the question. Like I said in the subject line, are you ready for the downturn? Gang, it's coming. Okay, the downturn is coming, and are you going to be ready for it? I mean, think about this for a second. We've got the Federal Reserve lowered its rate, recently, and that's usually a sign of a slowdown, right? The last time the Federal Reserve lowered their rate was in 2008. Okay, we're going to be seeing more tariffs against China from the Trump administration, and who knows who else they're going to be, they're talking about throwing tariffs at. It's still hard to find qualified employees, still hard to find them, still hard to keep them. Many businesses struggle with that, and depending upon who you talk to, is whether the economy has been booming or not. Now, as I am recording this, I can tell you right now that the Dow Jones is crashing, and I don't mean that in a disastrous form, but I just mean that. I mean, the last I heard, it was down like 700 and some points. It's the pendulum, right? It's the pendulum of business. It's the pendulum of economies that they swing back and forth, right? I should keep my hand in the picture here. The pendulum swing back and forth. That when things get really, really good, eventually the pendulum starts to slow down and it goes back the other direction. And the same thing, when things get bad, they go back the other direction, or at least they're supposed to, right? Because and one of the other reasons why I'm asking the question is that according to Forbes magazine, the next recession is already 4.5 years overdue. So all I'm saying is, are you ready for the downturn? I think in terms of the way we did it at the Japanese company was that we made decisions that we would look far ahead, but then we asked ourselves, how would this impact us tomorrow if we have a recession? And we would always be very careful about that. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can approach this, right? It's the very simple, many of you heard me talk about this before, it's the X over the Y formula. That's all business is. Business is just X over Y, okay? The X represents income, your sales, your revenue. What comes in is on the top line, X over Y. Y are the costs, right? It's what does it cost you to support, to get the X. That's really what it's all about. And and what happens though for a lot of companies when they start to think in terms of downturns, and most companies don't think about downturns in advance. Most of them start to react when things are going badly. When things are going well, we tend to think that they're going to continue to go well. And I suppose that when things are going badly, we feel the same way as well. It's sort of like the law of inertia. A body in motion tends to stay in motion, and a body at rest tends to stay at rest. Success, not success. And so getting ready for the recession, X over Y. We can always, and the default response, I should call it the knee-jerk response by corporations, is to typically look and to say, okay, we need to cut our costs. We need to cut expenses. That's the Y, okay? But one of the things that we've got to be very careful about is marketing and branding. When done correctly, they are not expenses. They are investments. And that's a different animal because they are investments in helping to generate new customers, to keep customers, to grow the business, to make more sales. That's what impacts the X. And if you think that marketing is an expense, you are making a very big mistake. And the number one reason why a lot of people think that marketing is an expense is because they can't measure it. Well, all right, let me start to point some fingers here, and I want to make a couple of statements here that might, quite frankly, might piss some people off. But here's the bottom line, okay? If you cannot measure marketing for your business, it's your fault. Marketing is eminently measurable. If you don't have a system to regularly add leads into your funnel, it's your fault. And I mean assist, not something where you just, like, oh, hey, let's do a big email blast this month. No. I'm talking about a regular system where you can regularly add leads. If you don't know your numbers, and what I mean by your numbers is these are some sub questions, okay? Some sub questions. First number to ask is do you know how much you are willing to spend to capture a customer? And if your average customer, has a lifetime value of, let's say, $10,000, and you think that you should be able to capture them by spending $50, well, guess what? If your competitor decides to go out and spend, $1,000 to go get a $10,000 customer, they will kick your butt every time. Okay? How much are you willing to spend? Second one, what is your closing rate from sales? Most companies have no idea what their closing rate from sales is, and it's a simple question. If I were to hand you 100 qualified leads, what would your closing rate be? Odds are you don't know the answer to that question. So if you don't know your numbers, it's your fault. If you don't know your moose better than your competition, that's your fault. Because in order for you to create that attachment through an uncopyable bond, all right, you have to know your moose better than the competition. And if you don't, it's your fault. And my last one, I could go on, but my last one is, if you rely on referrals, if you get a good percentage of business from referrals, and you don't have a formal referral marketing strategy, that's your fault too. Whoops, good thing I have my notes because I left one out. Really important one, as a matter of fact. If you don't know your competitive advantage over your competition, and when I say competitive advantage, it has to be something that is nearly uncopyable. Not just better. It has to be super hard to where they wish they could, but they can't copy it. Or they don't want to copy it, but you have figured out a way to make it an advantage. If you cannot delineate what that competitive advantage is, it's your fault. Back to the program. Look, X over Y. Of course, you want to, you don't want to overspend on anything foolishly. Marketing should not be super expensive. In fact, there are many ways to use marketing where it's not expensive at all. And if you've been following me, you should have learned them by now. And if not, then doggone it, you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to be doing something pretty soon about teaching some of this stuff. But marketing should not be expensive. But you look at the why and you say costs. We'll cut costs and we'll survive that way. You can never cut to zero without going out of business. All right, you cannot do that. However, the X, if you work on growing your business, on generating new leads, and you do it through an intelligent marketing and branding strategy, X has no ceiling. The sky is the roof for X. So X is always going to be something for you that you should win with. Okay, so are you ready for the downturn? I mean, do you think that you got all your ducks in a row for being able to make that happen? If not, well, you're going to want to stick around. You're going to want to pay attention to the emails that are going to be coming up, because I'm going to be doing a free webinar, as in the next 2 weeks probably. And if you want to join me on that, I don't have the registration set up yet or anything like that, but if you want to join me, send me an email that says you want in. And in fact, I'll just set up a link down below. You click that link, and it'll. I'll just set something up, and it'll have like a pre-reg thing, all right, where you say that you're interested in attending. It's gonna be free, and it's gonna be good. So sign up for that, and let's get ourselves ready for this downturn where we're still, somebody is still going to make a lot of money during a downturn, okay? And we want that to be you. This is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad and marketing gunslinger. Thanks again for joining me this week on another uncopyable business video. Click that link. Tell me that you're interested in attending, and we'll get you information, I guess. Thanks a lot for watching. Always remember, be uncopyable. I'll see you next time.